This one was a CIBC poll, and this was that 50% of homeowners have done or plan to do a renovation on their property. Maybe meaning that people are sort of looking to the future and not, trading housing like they would trade stocks on the stock market. So is buy and hold the new reality?
I wasn't aware it was ever not the old reality.
Well, I mean, the frothy market conditions certainly stretched the reality of the buy and hold.
Right.
Now, all the professionals we work with, our head brokers are like, buy and hold is the way to trade real estate. You hold on to it. But because of the market conditions, it wasn't the reality. The same as like for us as mortgage brokers, we've always said financing condition, right? You put in a financing condition to protect yourself. The reality of the market for the last 7-8 years has been, if you want to get the property, you're going to have to build a contingency plan, because a financing condition isn't going to get you the property, right? So even though that was always our advice, that's always the fundamentals. It seems like maybe now the market is getting everybody back to the fundamentals. And I think that will strengthen the future of the economy.
Yeah. To take it in maybe a different point of view than just buy and hold. The financing condition, I always tell people, like, it's there to protect you. If you can hold on to it, great. But you may need to be at the point where you're making a decision whether or not you want to buy this property and take that risk, because it is really the buyer that's taking all of the risk in that scenario. And so people are just in a great place to be able to do that. They've sold a property and they've got a big down payment. They're not maxing out on their purchase price. Mm-hmm. And by speaking to a mortgage broker that's got a variety of different solutions, will you be able to purchase the property if push comes to shove? If something happens, what's the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
And I've, just being able to advise people like that, here's your maximum purchase price. You're maxing out everything. Maybe now is not the time to waive the financing condition for this property.
I mean, I've certainly had situations where maybe there's a little like bruise on the credit, little something that, a lender is not going to love. And I've said to the real estate agent that's searching for a property, is like, you have to find something that's been sitting on the market. We cannot go in on this property without a financing condition. If they want to get into the market, that's the only way that I'm standing by this deal. But for the most part, on the other side, well qualified, not purchasing at their max limit. You've basically underwritten the file yourself. You've collected all the documents. You've gone through everything, and you're like, well, yeah. Ultimately, you have to take a risk, and you can get them to sign a document that says that they're prepared to take that risk, and it's a sensible decision at the end of the day.
For sure, I think as the market gets frothier, that degree of risk increases. That you have to max out, you have to get into the neighborhood, the school zone, the type of property that your family needs. You're probably taking on that risk as a borrower. But there's some people they're comfortable with doing that. Those are the people that may give up a few things in order to be there. But how can you negotiate? Maybe you can match a closing date that another seller who's able to offer more money is or maybe you're offering the same, but you have a finance condition, but your closing date, you're able to accommodate whatever closing date that they want. So it's not always just like, well, I've got a finance condition and that's that. Maybe you have a finance condition, but something else about it is good.
More favorable. Yeah.
Yeah. I've called listing agents. I've called listing agents on behalf of my clients as well, saying like, on behalf of the borrower's real estate agent as well. I've said like, hey, I'm calling and they're well qualified and we've looked at this, and this. Obviously can't give them any specifics on it, but just being able to put our best foot forward and say like, hey, we're ready to go. Financing looks good, but we just want to
wait to get the commitment. Yeah. So what would you put on that? Like, what's the tightest? Like a two-day financing condition, 3-day financing
Oh God.
condition? You don't need like in the past it would be like 2 weeks. They're like
No.
I would like
Yeah, no, I would do 5.
in the
I-
90s in the past.
Yeah, I always say 5 days financing condition. If you're doing 3, everything's got to go pretty smoothly in that scenario. It's going to take us, might take us a day to get everything together to send into the lender. The lender, depending on how busy they are, they might have 2-3 days turnaround time. So, 3 days is pretty tight.
Tight.
5
Very
days, 5 days is a good amount of time. And I just don't see how, I mean, I guess 3 days, if you drop the deal and they go back on, they can get their property back on the market that weekend. Like
right.
if they're negotiating Tuesday, Friday, you hear that the deal's not going through, they're back on the market right away. They don't miss that crucial window. But for me, 5 days is where it's at. Otherwise, 3 days is okay. Otherwise, don't bother.
On the Canada Day long weekend.
Yeah.
Busiest
the Canada Day long weekend, nobody's open
anyway.
Yeah. Nobody's open anyway, right? Like, so if they say, oh, it's we've got a 3-day finance condition, it's Friday, the Canada Day long weekend, and Monday's off, I've got until Wednesday at that. I've got until Thursday at that point, because it starts the day after.
Well, you get the extra day. Obviously it's counted in business days, but that being the busiest funding sort of week of the year, all the spring deals seem to always close right around the Canada Day long weekend, and a lot of lenders won't even pick up the application. They're like, "Yeah, we need 5 days to. We can't even look at it. We're funding right now." So
too busy. I'm too busy.
So that's a good one for all the real estate agents out there: is don't close on the Canada Day long weekend. Not a quick close anyway. No. If you're going to close there, get that deal, done in April.
Like June 25th is like I always have that date in my mind. June 25th is the last Friday. Not the week before the Canada Day long weekend is always the busiest closing day of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. So word to the wise there.
Word to the wise.